the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game.
Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah. It's Monday, December 11th. 345 days into the new year, just 20 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in downtown Burbank, California, and I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States, hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR and the Game Changer Network and KGRA, the planet. I am your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking? How you doing? Nothing like a Monday. All right. Get ready, because tonight we have very special guest, Stanton T. Friedman is here. He's here to do just one thing, answer all of the UFO questions. Tomorrow night, Patricia Corey joins us. We're going to discuss her new book, The New Syrian Revelations, Galactic Prophecies for the Awakening Human Collective. Wednesday night, Whitley Strieber is here. We're going to talk about that new book that he's been telling us about all year that he has written with his wife, Anne. It is called The Afterlife Revolution. Thursday nights, no more fake newsroom with John Rappaport, followed by open lines because it is Fader night. Okay, you can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Everything is Fade to Black. Jimmy Church Radio, simple enough. Just head over to the website right now, follow, like, and subscribe. The sandbox is hashtag F2B on Twitter, as it has been for 3 years. Lots to talk about when we're talking about years, because next week is our 4-year anniversary. Yep, we will be officially moving in to our 5th year of broadcasting. Holy crap, right? Unbelievable. I don't know how we got here, but we have. And we'll be talking about that quite a bit. Okay. So hashtag F2B on Twitter. And I bring that up because we took over a hashtag F2B when we left. What was the name of Dark Matter? Forgot the name of that network. It's been that long. So there you go. Okay. And we're going to do a special anniversary show that night, which will be the 19th. And, I think, of course, we're going to have Race Hobbs in here. Steve Murillo is going to be in Jamaica. He's going to be in Jamaica that night, but we're going to try to get him on live from Jamaica. And I'm just picturing Steve there with his wife in Jamaica and calling in to the show. That's going to be interesting. So that'll all be next week. Okay. So, but this week we've got a great week lined up. Hashtag F2B on Twitter is where you want to come and hang out with us. And that is hashtag F2B. because we had another hashtag. I don't remember what it was back then, but we've been doing hashtag F2B for so long, and the years are starting to add up. Somebody, I know who it was. He may be listening right now. So Chance Gardner, Magical Egypt Chance, who we had on the show a couple of weeks ago, sends me this email this week during the fires, and he goes, "Hey man, if you want to blow out of LA and just disconnect and recharge the batteries, come over here to Australia, man, and hang out with us, me and Venice, and we have a nice house, and you guys can just kick it." And I wrote him back. I said, we have never taken a vacation or days off or anything like that, and we've been doing this for 4 years, and we really need to recharge. And then it just started to hit me how many shows, which today is, I don't know what the number is tonight, but 760 some odd shows. Are we at 770? But so many shows, and without taking our foot off the gas. And so our daughter comes in yesterday, and she wanted me to check out this motivational speaker. And so I did, and I went and watched some of his videos. And one of the things, and this guy's a Silicon Valley investor type guy, successful. And one of the things that he was saying, and he was speaking at USC, right? He was here. I think he's from New York. But his thing that he was, and I'm telling you, he was raining on some parades. To the class there, to the students, he's like, "Hey, if you want to do this, if you want to have a successful company, if you want to go and get something done, there's no days off. There's no taking a half day on Friday to go and party with your friends. You have to be prepared to work for 16 to 20 hours a day for 4, 5, 6, 7 years straight, 7 days a week. Never stop. That's how you have a successful company. You don't have it because it just happens. It doesn't work that way." And he's exactly right. That's what it takes. And that's what we've done for the last 4 years. We have not stopped. It's been 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, building this thing. And it's been a lot of fun. And I just can't believe that next week on the 19th will be our 4-year anniversary. So there you go. Our next event coming up will be the Conscious Life Expo. It's coming up February 9th through the 12th, already less than 2 months away at the LAX Hilton at LAX right here in Los Angeles. And if you go over to jimmychurchradio.com, you'll see the Conscious Life Expo banner right there. Click on it, head over, and check out all of the great speakers. And get yourself some passes and get some rooms and come stay with us over at the LAX Hilton. It's going to be a great 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th 4-day event all weekend long. And there you go. All the Fadernauts, our sponsors are going to be there. Just come and hang out. It's one of the great conferences all year long. Don't forget to also subscribe to our podcast where we have over 750 archive shows, just $2 a month. Click on the podcast banner. You can also become a Fadernaut in our membership section over at the site. You'll get the Bunker Cam. Hello, everybody in the Bunker Cam. You get commercial-free downloadable archives. And if you become a game changer, you will also get, in addition to all the other benefits of becoming a Fadernaut, you'll get that Fade to Black gear, the autographed embroidered hat and T-shirt. Okay? All of our sponsors here, our family, please visit them. It is the holidays. Give the gift that keeps on giving, right? Life Change Tea. Get the tea.com. River Moon Coffee. Ancient Life Oil. Sacred Skulls. Numana Food Storage. And Bearing Optics. Go visit all of our sponsors and help support the show. Let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to today. Nikki Sixx is 59 years old. Most Def today is 44. And great actor. His influence on rap is, you don't even need to go there, but he's a great actor. And if you haven't seen like a couple of movies like Be Kind, Rewind, that's a great movie. Go check that out. But The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's an amazing movie. I've seen it so many times. I think Rita and I bang out The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy once a month. It's that great of a film. It's that important of a film. Mos Def today is 44. On this day in history, 1964, it went down right here in Los Angeles. Sam Cooke dies. Yeah. Very suspicious death because officers of the LAPD were dispatched to the Hacienda Hotel, shots fired, where they found Sam Cooke dead on the office floor, shot 3 times in the chest by the motel's manager, Bertha Franklin. And the twist on this is Rita and I 2 days ago went shopping. We're shopping. We're out, we're doing our thing. It's at night. And the song comes on the radio in the car. And it was a cover of a Drifters song. I can't remember the name. It doesn't matter. And I turned to Rita and I said, have you heard the original to this? She goes, no. I said, it's Sam Cooke, the Drifters. She said, really? And so I looked it up. Anyway, when was the last time you bring up Sam Cooke in a conversation? And then today is the anniversary of his death. Weird, man. Synchronicity. Universe is a weird place. Universe is strange. It's all connected. That was bizarre. It was just bizarre. Bizarre conversation. I had no idea. Man, I love my River Moon coffee. Fader fact. Advertisers spent more on digital ads on the internet in 2017 than on traditional TV for the first time ever. That is a Fader fact. You got to imagine. I was at a conference, not a UFO conference, an audio conference, music, and I was there last year, and I was hanging out with a couple of advertising executives for some digital ad agency, right? And I was with them for a few minutes, and I'm listening to them talk about clicks, and one of them was on the phone with one of their clients, and I'm looking at these two, and I'm going to guess and say they were both 23 years old. Probably just graduated from San Francisco State, and they're working for some Silicon Valley ad firm up there, and they're down here. It was just frightening listening to their sales pitches and how they were talking about clicks and numbers, and then sure enough, this year, advertisers spent more on the net than they did on traditional TV. Wow, just scary. All right, tonight Stanton Friedman is here. We're going to get all of those UFO questions answered from somebody who not only knows more and has been doing this longer than anybody in ufology today, right? That's it. There is nobody that has been doing it longer and has been around since the beginning. But he has seen it all. Now, if you think about the things that are behind Stanton, Roswell, right there, Roswell. Okay, there was no Roswell before Stanton, so think about that. And of course, there's all of the other cases that he has investigated and has been part of. There's all of that, but you can just start there with Roswell, the MJ-12 documents, right? And Betty and Barney Hill and Kathleen Marsden today. There's all of that. But he has been doing every aspect of it. And he's butted heads with quite a few people over the past. Bob Lazar, very, very famous example of that. So tonight, Stanton Friedman is here. Tomorrow night, Patricia Corey. And then Wednesday night, Whitley Strieber. Now, one of the things I'm going to talk about tonight with Stanton, and this is where I want everybody here to just kind of get a little bit comfortable and listen to your Uncle Jimmy for a second. And I got to talk to you about a couple of things. And as a little warm-up, The ETH, which is the extraterrestrial hypothesis, the ETH, doesn't get talked about enough today. But the ETH proposes, at least the classical version of this, I should say, proposes that some, if not all, unidentified flying objects, UFOs, are best explained as being physical nuts and bolts spacecraft occupied by extraterrestrial life or non-human aliens from other planets visiting Earth. Right? That's the ETH. As of yet, the government hasn't released anything to the public to support this hypothesis. As we know, we've been talking about disclosure for a long time, and today it's a different story out there. But origins of the term of the extraterrestrial hypothesis are basically unknown. But Jacques Vallée used it in his 1966 book, Challenge to Science, the UFO Enigma. And James McDonald used it while testifying before a Congressional Committee on Science and Astronautics in July 1968. And have things changed? Have things changed? And we're going to talk to Stanton about this tonight. But yes, things have changed so much. If we go back and we look at a few things that we didn't know back then, and I'm talking about 1968 and before, that's not very long ago. But between 1990 and now, things have changed radically. So we have these eras, right, of the ETH. And going back to 1947, 1945, 47, 48, and the wave of UFO sightings here, I can actually look back and think of why that happened. Let me explain. Light speed and light years reach out. Light speed is the distance that light travels in a year. That's a light year. Okay? We have certain stars, planets now that we now know are planets, and stars that are around us in all directions. And starting in with Tesla and Marconi and others, because it got out of control in 1900, 1905, 1910, right? And it really started to get out of control shortly after that. And then, of course, television signals. But all of this lit up this planet like nobody's business and emanated out at light speed. Now, if you look at what is around us and what could have received these radio signals and later television signals, you cut that time in half, because then something would have to come back to Earth at light speed, or maybe fold space or wormholes, a higher intelligence to get back to here. But certainly 1947, we saw stuff here. Now, that's not to say that we haven't been visited over millennia or millions of years here, but we let the universe know we have arrived. Electricity, radio, television, technology. Now we have gone to the next step, right? Now, this is where, for me, it gets most interesting when we're talking about the ETH. We had the wave of sightings in 1947. They have not stopped since. There are all kinds of documented, from my own eyes too as well, things that are seen every single day around this planet. We are obviously being visited and watched by somebody, and it's not us. Okay? Now, the Drake equation And the way that was calculated and the way that it was presented at that time seemed like an astronomical amount of life out there. And so you look at the Drake equation and you're going, okay, wow, whoa, yeah, I guess there could be tens, maybe hundreds, maybe 1,000 planets out there in the universe. You know, and you look at this equation and it was exciting. It's like, okay, we have a real math equation here. We can take a look at this. Now, the Drake equation, as cool as it is nothing. It's nothing. Because when the Drake equation was written and presented, what were thought to be stars were galaxies. Now, listen to what I'm saying here. Today, our Milky Way is proposed to have around 500 billion stars. 500 billion. That throws the Drake equation off by so much it is frightening. Now, what we have in the known universe, and this is a guesstimate, 1 trillion galaxies. Now let's step back for a moment and wrap your mind around what I am saying. 500 billion stars per galaxy, 1 trillion galaxies. Do that math in your head. There are so many zeros there, and the possibilities of what is really going on, it's mind-blowing. So let's go back to this ETH. The ETH proposes that some identified flying objects, UFOs, are best explained as being physical spacecraft occupied by extraterrestrial life or non-human aliens from other planets that are here visiting Earth. The Drake equation and the way the ETH was originally put together, the thoughts were maybe from Mars, maybe they're from Venus, right? We weren't considering that there were other planets out there, you know, beyond our solar system, right? And now, with the numbers that we have and what we know as galaxies instead of stars, think about this. The amount of life out there in the universe is insane. It's not tens, it's not hundreds of civilizations, of alien life, of planets. It's billions. Billions. And when we start to calculate the age of planet Earth, 4.5 billion years, and shrink that down to about 3 billion years of that where it could have supported life, because before that it was just a molten, you know, just lava, no atmosphere, no water. Okay, so 3 billion years. And the universe is 14.5 billion years old. So now, if we have literally, so that's like billions and billions, you know, and speaking of that, if Carl Sagan knew today what we knew today compared to his versions of ET life out there when he was thinking, they were guessing maybe there's one. Think about this. It's in the billions that are close to us. Yeah, this is the pic. Thank you for posting this. Look at that. Look at that. Those are galaxies. And we thought, I'm going to retweet this. Thank you so much. This is one of the most incredible pictures ever. And I've got to get this out to everybody so you can understand exactly how heavy of a subject this really is. Because we thought for years oh, man. Hold on for a second. We had thought for years that those individual galaxies, that those were stars. The Hubble deep space, deep field photo, and you take this image and you blow it up and you blow it up and you blow it up, everything that you see there is a galaxy. And it continues and it continues. Each one of those with 500 billion stars. And it takes the ETH to a whole nother level. So always remember that. And so today, when we consider all of this, today, I'm not sure what is going on. I do know this. When I go out and I see something in the night sky, and I can't explain it, I do know. And I'm a child of the 60s. I grew up with airplanes, and I grew up with Mercury and Gemini and Apollo, and I know what I'm seeing in the sky. I can identify every plane that there is. From then to now, from biplanes until everything that is flying in the sky today, right? And when I see something that doesn't make sense to me, it makes me wonder. Now, first off, is it us or is it them? But when I consider it's us side of things, then obviously there is something that the government isn't telling us, and some things need to remain secret. You don't want to tip your hand to our enemies out there and let them know what we have as far as advanced technology is, and I understand that. But when I see something go from ground level here, which I have seen, I've talked about it enough to see that fly up into the atmosphere and then take a left-hand turn and disappear into the stars, I'm not so sure that is us. Why aren't they making contact? Why aren't they saying hello to us? That doesn't mean that there is a life form on board. Maybe there is. But the way that we are trying to figure out our own solar system with Mariner and Voyager and Pioneer, there aren't any of us on the, no. Those are satellites. Those are effectively just drones that we're sending out to go and figure out and send back information to us. So if that's the way we are doing it, why wouldn't ET be doing the same thing for millions of years? They know that Earth is here. So think about that. We're going to talk about all of this tonight with Stanton Friedman. I'm going to take a quick break right here. When I come back, live all the way from, I think this is funny. We talk about this all the time with Stanton, but I think he's like 4 or 5 time zones away. So effectively, we're time traveling. We're going to tell Stanton about what's going to go on in his world tomorrow. He's that far away. Well, I'll be right back with our guest, Stanton T. Friedman. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Stanton at Stan T. Friedman on Twitter. I'll be right back. Stay with us.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roasted to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black Blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Natural Health Solutions with Chris and Ronnie.
Hey, Ronnie, how you doing?
Great, Chris.
Now, you're the CEO of GetTheT.com, right?
Yes, I am.
What is GetTheT.com? I mean, is this tea you buy in a store?
Well, no, it's not. Life Change Tea is just that. Life-changing. Life Change Tea is an herbal tea that gently cleanses your body from intruders.
What do you mean by intruders?
Well, intruders are toxins, chemicals, GMOs, heavy metals, and more. They're in our food, in our water, in our air we breathe.
Seriously?
Yeah, seriously.
And Life Change Tea will help you with removing these, as you say, intruders?
That's right, Chris.
Are there side effects with this tea?
Well, you might lose a little weight. When you clean your colon, you lose weight, you feel better, and you have more energy.
Wow. Ronnie, where can people purchase Life Change Tea?
Oh, that's easy. GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com.
Ronnie, I want to thank you for being on the show. People, don't forget, GetTheT.com.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA. The Planet.
Win big with KGRA this summer. Tickets and hotel accommodations to the biggest conferences, autographed books and DVDs, chances to win all-inclusive conference cruises, and private dinners with your favorite KGRA hosts. Click the contest tab at kgraradio.com for your chance to win big this summer. Your contact for the best alternative talk radio on the planet. kgraradio.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Stanton T. Friedman. This segment of the show is brought to you by Life Change Tea. Starting with their super strength tea, we use Life Change Tea products every day, including Coral Sea, G.I. Joy, Pine Bark, and Moringa Drops. I do it all. Use the promo code FADER, and you will get free shipping. Just click on the banners over at jimmychurchradio.com. All right, Stanton T. Friedman is a nuclear physicist, lecturer, and received his BSc and MSc degrees in physics from the University of Chicago in 1955 and 1956. He was employed for 14 years as a nuclear physicist by such companies as GE, GM, Westinghouse, TRW Systems, Aerojet General Nucleonics, and McDonnell Douglas, working in such highly advanced classified, eventually canceled programs as nuclear aircraft, fission and fusion rockets, and various compact nuclear power plants for space and terrestrial applications. Stanton is the original civilian investigator of the Roswell Incident and co-authored Crash at Corona, the definitive study of the Roswell Incident, and Top Secret MAJIC, his controversial book about the Majestic 12 group. He has provided written testimony to congressional hearings, appeared twice at the United Nations, and has been a pioneer in as many aspects of ufology, including Roswell, MJ-12, the Betty Hill-Marjorie Fish star map work, analysis of the Delphos, Kansas physical trace case, crash saucers, flying saucer technology, and challenges to SETI. Tonight, we're going to discuss all sides of the UFO world, the who, the what, the when, the why, the where, from one of the best and brightest minds of our community. And I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, the one and only Stanton T. Friedman. Stan, good evening, my friend. Stan, you there? Okay. Oh, no. Oh, no. Stan. Interesting. Oh, no. Okay. All right. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And I'm going to do this live. Stan, you there?
I'm here.
Okay. Don't freak me out, man.
How about me?
Oh, Stan Friedman. Good evening. How are you, man? Now, it's winter time. Well, it's always winter where you live, but you guys got snow, and does it feel like the holidays?
Well, yes, we do have. We had 6 inches of snow, and none of it is left. And the temperature will be down to about 15 tonight. And yeah, winter is here. Hasn't gotten miserable yet. When it gets cold, it'll be down to minus 40. But we're strong. We can handle that here. We're accustomed to it, it says.
If I told you it was 85 today here in L.A., I hope you're not upset.
No, I'm not upset. I'm accustomed to people lording over me how wonderful their weather is.
Well, it's good to hear your voice. And before we get started, I just, how's your health?
Well, I'm alive and well and seem to be doing fine despite the weather.
Well, yeah, the last time that I saw you were in great shape, and I went up to you and I said, "Man, you look great." And you go, "Hey, man, I'm working out." So, are you still working out?
Not much.
Was that a fad?
Well, yeah, kind of. It varies from time to time. I'm getting old, and sometimes this working out stuff is kind of old-fashioned. It's the mind that needs the work. The heck with the body,
That's exactly right. And I wanted to. I'm going to start off here because of your position in not only the UFO community, but it stretches out into conspiracy and everything else, and you're so looked up to. But as you go to these conferences and you look around and you see the young kids running around, the 18-year-olds that are into UFOs and the question and how does that make you feel? I mean, do you feel like things are going to be okay for us?
Well, I do feel optimistic because I find that attitudes around the world have changed drastically in the last few years. And I don't feel lonely here in saying that indeed the evidence is overwhelming that planet Earth is being visited by extraterrestrial spacecraft, that we're dealing with a cosmic Watergate. I find that there's been a big change because of a couple of things. One is all the planets that Kepler has found all over the place. I mean, you don't have to go back many years to a point where people said, hey, we got a unique solar system here, and we're the unique planet in that solar system. We got oxygen and water and so forth. We're the big cheeses. And now, thanks to Kepler and a lot of other data we've picked up, it appears that there are planets all over the place. As an example, just to give you a context, there's about 10,000 planets within 10,000 stars within 100 light years of here. And the latest notion is that there's about 1.6 planets per star. So within a mere 100 light years, there are 16,000 planets. And I'm not saying they all have life. Of course not. I'm saying there's plenty of them that do. And also, our perception of how things fit together in the neighborhood. I hear people who say, well, you can't get here from there because they got to be hundreds or thousands of light years away. And I say, hey, there are loads of stars in the local neighborhood that are just down the street.
Right.
The Earth is kind of isolated. I mean, 4.3 light years to the next star. But look, 39.3 light years away, they're Zeta 1 and Zeta 2 reticuli. From each other, they're an eighth of a light year apart. So there are stars that have other stars nearby. And wouldn't you expect that the closer the neighbor, the more likely you are to get rolling to try to get there? Especially when we tend to forget how long there have been planets and stars and all the rest of it. Billions and billions of years, as Carl Sagan would have said.
Right.
We're not the latest addition to the system. I mean, we're not the oldest addition, let's put it that way. So things have been going on all over the place for a very long time. We're latecomers.
Well, let me ask you a couple of direct questions. How has maybe it hasn't, but how has your view changed from I was talking about the ETH in my opening little rant on the show. So the ETH, with James McDonald and Valet in 68, 69, 70, how has your view changed from then until now? Is it, nuts and bolts and, physical craft, or is your take on that changed?
Look, there's no question they're a physical craft, but there's also no question that there's a lot going on that we don't know about, that we can't imagine. Or Johnny-come-latelys in the neighborhood.
Right.
So I expect we're going to find all kinds of, I'll call it weird stuff going on. I think the aliens know a lot about telepathy. They know a lot about all kinds of weird things. And so, the notion that just because we know that there are lots of stars around and lots of planets around and lots of aliens around, doesn't mean we have the full picture of their capabilities, of what they can do that we don't know anything about. Remember, Friedman's mantra, technological progress comes from doing things differently in an unpredictable way.
Right.
The future is not an extrapolation of the past. We have to look at things differently, got to change how we do things. And it takes us a long time to get around to that idea. I mean, I've been on programs within the past year where people were suggesting that the nearest other place of interest would be 1,000 light years away. Baloney.
Right.
Very simple.
Yes, it is.
So the notion that aliens are visiting here, people say, well, why would they bother us, or why would they bother to come here? What's special about Earth and so forth? Well, there are a lot of things, but one of them is we're a threat to the neighborhood. Why do I say that? Because we know that most of the energy in the universe is produced by nuclear fusion. That's how the sun works, but it's how all the stars work. And, if I were an alien, I'd be very much concerned about a primitive society like ours whose major activity is tribal warfare.
That's right.
We're not nice guys. We killed 50 million people in World War II. We destroyed 1,700 cities. Would anybody want us to take our brand of friendship out there? I don't think so. Makes no sense to me that they would. So I can understand they're being concerned. There may be rules about you can't just wipe them out, guys, but you can quarantine them.
I said a couple of months ago, and I've been expanding on it since, but we're the hillbillies of the universe. If you think about it, if ET came up to you and I are, doing our thing, we're walking down the street and literally comes up to us and goes, "Hey, what's up? What have you done lately?" And I show him a cell phone. What is that going to impress ET?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. No, we are truly.
I don't think so at all. And that's the thing. It's a sense of perspective about where we fit in the scheme of things. We're not the most advanced beings around. We just found out about nuclear fusion in 1938, for God's sake.
I know, right?
It's been going on for billions and billions of years.
Now, what do you think Carl Sagan, speaking of billions and billions, if he would have lived, he was still with us today, and, now he had the Kepler information, he had the Hubble information, and that all of these things that he thought were stars are actually galaxies, right? And then these numbers of exoplanets. Do you think he would have flip-flopped once again? Because he kind of flip-flopped there a couple of times on the UFO question.
Yes, he did. Yeah, I think so. I think he would recognize that the notion that guys are coming here and not wanting to stop and have a chat with Carl is not so strange.
Right.
Because we're so damn primitive. I mean, what other word can you use for our society? $1 trillion this year on things military on this little planet. $1 trillion. How many kids died of starvation yesterday and the day before and the day before that? And our concept, I mean, like I say, it's nice to talk about thousands of light years, millions of light years. But when you start talking about 30, 20, 10, 50, and when, people always want to forget about Einstein's other part. They will always tell you, remember, Stan, the speed of light's the limit. But Einstein also pointed out, and it's been experimentally verified, that as you get close to the speed of light, time slows down for things moving that fast. And that could be very important if you want to go someplace out there, moving at a high speed, like 99.9% of the speed of light. That changes everything. And so we need to take a realistic look about where we fit in the scheme of things. And frankly, and also to understand why we look threatening to any neighbors, because we're bad guys. We don't care about the quality of the life of the people on the planet or in the local neighborhood.
Well,
we care about power and greed and things like that.
Well, it's always been shoot first, right? I mean, it's just...
that's right. That's exactly right. And so it is important to recognize that we represent danger to the rest of the neighborhood. I mean, anybody trying to evaluate us, well, how about those Earthlings? Are they good guys, bad guys? What are they? It's clear we're bad guys. And so people say, well, why don't they just land and make themselves known? They know we know they're here after you've been tracked on radar 500 times. You know that they know we know they're here. And we tend to forget that there are people on the planet who don't tell us everything they know, that secrecy is a way of life for advanced technologies on planet Earth. We're not about to talk to the planet about what capabilities we have observed and what the new capabilities for us will be. So the real world is very different. Aliens aren't obviously going to come around and say, hi, Earthlings, can we have lunch? That's not the way things are, because we're bad guys. We think nothing about destruction. We've got a track record that is really enviable if you want to say who's the most bloodthirsty guys around.
Well,
I think we qualify.
I had asked you 3 or 4 years ago. I asked you about propulsion systems. I can't remember. I think you and I were just sitting contact in the desert, or you and I were together somewhere, and we were sitting talking privately. And I brought up, propulsion systems, and I was like, do you think? How do you think they're doing it? Now, your answer to me then, it could have been some type of gravitational field, or and
fusion.
And you have brought this up a few times. Do you think that there is something else possible, like the classic, the folding of space, or the ability to just go instantly from one spot to another, and possibly not using a propulsion system at all? And maybe it's far too easy, the answer that to this question, that it could be instantaneous.
I leave room for really far out stuff, but I don't need it to explain going to nearby solar systems, or therefore they're coming here.
Right.
Especially when we haven't been around very long. As I said, we didn't know there was nuclear fusion until 1938.
Right.
And yet, just about all the energy in the entire universe is produced by nuclear fusion. We didn't have a clue until 1938. That's something we need to confront. Are we the smartest guys in the neighborhood? Heck no. So I expect we will learn about things that we don't yet know about because, as I said, progress comes from doing things differently. But we already know that fusion will do the job and that Mother Nature has provided every society with examples of it because all the stars produce their energy that way. So it's not as if only a few places will know about fusion. In every solar system, there will be people who want to figure out how the heck does a star produce its energy.
Right.
And they'll find nuclear fusion. We're not the smartest guys on the block.
Right. Yeah, that
and we
makes a lot
haven't
of
been
sense.
smart for, terribly long. So others got started before we did. The proof of that is that they're coming here. And, there are people who want to reject that they're coming here because they don't understand how they could possibly do it. And why don't they act the way we think we would act, except when you stop to think about it? How many explorers don't understand that there are potential dangers with landing in the middle of another civilization, which might also be shooting first and asking questions later?
That's right. Yeah, there's no question about that. I never really thought about it in those terms, though, that what is a common denominator here? Stars. Absolutely. And what is powering that? That has got to be the basis of every technical society and trying to deduce how that is working. And that would be a common. Yeah, that's Stanton. That's why you've got the big brain.
Maybe the other way.
That's a very interesting.
What I'm
take.
saying is, it's being careful about what assumptions you make,
right?
And recognizing that there are live explorers. Columbus didn't sit at home and say, "Hey, have we received any mail from the New World?" He went and found, and listened, and brought back. That's the way real exploration works. And so we need to get rid of our egos, we're the big shots, and recognize that our behavior would attract the interest of others, not because they think we're nice guys, but because they know they want to be careful about letting us go where we would like to go, which is any place we want, damn it. That's our privilege as the big shots.
Well, now I'm going to change gears just a little bit. We're going to stay on the same subject, but I want to ask you some questions I've never asked of you before. And this is
not?
This is the first thing. When with all of your research leading up to Roswell, leading up to Roswell and backing up before Roswell, there was no Roswell. It wasn't not Kehoe, not McDonald, not Jacques Vallée, not Long John Nebel out of New York and his radio show. There was no mention of Roswell throughout history, going back to the initial newspaper and radio. But that period until you. With all of your research, you never heard the name Roswell anywhere. Effectively buried and covered up. Does that even surprise you today, looking back to what you just, you were there, that there was no mention of Roswell anywhere? You never heard the name Roswell until you went to New Mexico and Jesse Marcel.
Well, yeah, I'd heard about Jesse Marcel. He was in Louisiana. He wasn't in New Mexico. I mean, he had been, but no, it escaped everybody's attention because we couldn't conceive of there having been such data. If there were, we would know about it. That's the attitude of people. If there was good evidence about aliens, we would have it. We would know it. And we don't, so there must not be. So forget all this nonsense. That's kind of the attitude. That's irrational, you understand, because it presumes that we know about everything that there is to be known about, which is nonsense. Because technological progress, as I said, comes from doing things differently in an unpredictable way. And we haven't talked about it. I've talked about fusion as if, that's propulsion. Okay. And as I've said before on your show, I was involved in a study at Aerojet General Nucleonics under John Luce, who had been head of the Oak Ridge National Laboratory fusion work years before. But we didn't know about it. We didn't think there might be something else. And that's the important thing to realize. We're just at the beginning of understanding, having any concept of what's out there that we don't know about. And that's where we need to look. An atomic bomb is not just more dynamite. Fission is one thing. Fusion is even more so. And, I was involved in a study of fusion propulsion in 1962.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't know about all these planets then. And that changes things in the sense that there are loads of civilizations out there trying to keep up with what's going on in the neighborhood. We don't like to think that. We like to think we're the big shots in the neighborhood, Our egos. The people back in the 1600s, the notion that it was all created in 4004 BC. That's a slight underestimate of all the time that things have been going on that we didn't know about, we don't know about. And so we need to change our view. Part of that, you realize this is tough on the ego.
Mm-hmm.
You mean I'm not at the top of the heap? What do you mean? Of course I am.
Right. Yeah, I have described this enough times over the years that if you look in the room, Stan, that you're sitting in right now in your office, right, and you look at the left wall and then you look at the right wall and you draw an imaginary line across that and you make that 4.5 billion years, right? Wall to wall, that on the right side, the wall, the paint, the thickness of the paint is 10,000 years. And then if you shave the paint on the wall, and you shave that down to just nothing, and now you're going to get to 2,000 years, and to get to the last 100 years of electricity, now you're talking about single flakes of atoms, on the wall.
Yeah.
That's what we're dealing with. And most people can't wrap their mind around that concept about how much of how little we are into all of time. It's just a sliver. We're nothing. Our intelligence.
That's right.
We're nothing. We're absolutely nothing. Let's take a break right here. We've got to take a break. And when we come back, I want to talk about Roswell. We're going to do that. I want to jump into Betty and Barney Hill. And there's a reason for that. I want to tie in the Drake equation to all of this. Our guest tonight is Stanton T. Friedman. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. More with Stanton after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas. Hello, Fadernauts. This is Jimmy Church, and I'm introducing New Pharma, a company whose products are based on science. Human function based on the endocannabinoid system, or ECS. New Pharma firmly believes in this science, and their research indicates that support of the ECS provides the beneficial effects for a healthy lifestyle. New Pharma's science includes relief capsules for pain relief, sleep capsules, which are natural support for occasional sleeplessness. Foundation is support for your ECS, and Fit capsules support your active lifestyle. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B for a 33% discount on all of their products. Or visit newpharma.com for all of the knowledge on the science. That's GNUpharma.com. Go back, Lee Tappy.
Hello, you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And this is Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We're of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Ancient Life Oil. Life-changing. The real oil. CBD is truly ancient life oil from the source. This oil has no psychoactive effect and is also legal in all 50 states. When you're healthy, you're happy. The truth about this wonderful plant is that it wants to give back to mankind life, longevity, and happiness. Ancient Life Oil are golden grade, all organic, non-GMO, and infused with high-quality liquid coconut oil. It's simple. Just go to ancientlifeoil.com today. That's ancientlifeoil.com. The best, purest, organic, and non-GMO CBD in the world. Go back, Lee Tappy. The statements made regarding these products have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Please consult your healthcare professional about potential interactions or other possible complications before using any product.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Stan at Stan T. Friedman on Twitter. Now, what I would like to do now, Stan, when we talk about Roswell and your research into it, something indeed happened out there. We've got so many different views now of what could have happened. Has your views changed?
Well, in a simple-minded way, no. I'm convinced that the United States government recovered the wreckage of an alien spacecraft, complete with bodies, wreckage, technology beyond our knowledge, and we've worked very hard to cover that up. Understandably. What are we going to do? Hand that technology to the Russians or the Chinese? Doesn't make any sense, does it? So the details, after all, we've run out of first-hand witnesses pretty much.
That's right.
70 years ago. So, not too many adults are around from that time. So Roswell is significant because it told people in power that indeed we're not alone. That means that there's technology beyond ours, that there are explorers beyond ours who may have very different ideas about what you do when you run across a primitive society like ours. It raises lots of questions. And also, how's the world going to deal with this? What do? We don't have a world government. We don't have a legislature that represents all the countries on the planet in order to decide what's our course of action, guys. We have a bunch of countries who are arguing with each other, fighting with each other, spending $1 trillion this year on things military. That's not exactly the right situation with trying to figure out the sensible way to deal with alien invaders. And they seem to want not to have us part of their community. Can you understand that? Who would want us? What if we got to offer? How to kill more people? How to destroy more cities? I don't think that's a thing we want to give the local galactic neighborhood.
Yeah, we don't. And when I look at the Drake equation, which now is the numbers are so off compared to what we know now.
Yes.
The Drake equation back in the day, we were so excited about it. It was like, okay, here's some proof, and obviously there's going to be some stuff out there. Today, with the knowledge of what we have with the stars and the amount of exoplanets that we have discovered, which seems to be now daily, if not weekly, another exoplanet. There was supposed to be another announcement today of another exoplanet. They didn't do it, but maybe it'll happen tomorrow. And they have another press conference scheduled for Thursday, another exoplanet. Well, this knowledge today that we have versus when Drake originally wrote the equation, we are light years. I mean, the numbers are mind-boggling, Stan.
Well, yeah. Well, let me give you an example. Frank Drake said there might be as many as 8,000 places that could send us radio signals. 8,000, imagine, in the whole galaxy. And the best number today, people are saying 100 billion.
Yes.
Maybe it's only 50 billion. But the idea that there are planets all over the place, that there's life all over the place, just hadn't gotten through, partly because of the ego. Well, if there was, why haven't they talked to us? We're so important. And that's one of the concepts we have to get rid of. We're important because we're a threat to the neighborhood, and we're protecting resources they might want to use. People forget that. The Earth has lots of stuff that might be of interest to others, besides water and air, and stuff like that. Got all kinds of minerals, and the ocean is full of all kinds of minerals, and the bottom of the ocean is. And there are things that are relatively rare. We know from studying the stars, and the Earth has some of those things because we didn't know enough to use them for anything useful. Uranium was used for, I have to laugh when I think about it. Its major use 100 years ago, yellow coloring agent for certain materials. Uranium was good for that. We didn't know about fission. We didn't know about fusion. And we didn't know that uranium had very special characteristics. We knew it was the densest planet we knew anything about, densest element.
Right. Well,
but we've come a long way since then, buddy.
And when we look at the original ETH and the original Drake equation, and we look at Roswell, which was a physical craft, possibly with some recovered bodies, then if we move forward to 1961 with Betty and Barney Hill, that was a craft with,
inhabitants,
pilots, if you will, a crew. Travis Walton, same thing, craft with a crew on it. So it's not necessarily a drone or some kind of exploratory mission with like us with satellites or Mariner or pick one, Pioneer or Voyager.
Well, look, Ted Phillips collected several thousand physical trace cases, 1/6 of which involved reports of beings associated with craft on or near the ground. Thousands. All over the planet. 80 countries at least.
Right.
So why are we surprised? This is a common event around the planet. Now, wouldn't you expect explorers to try to find out as much as possible about the goodies or baddies in all parts of the planet? If they're looking for minerals, for example, you got to check a lot of places. You don't know a priori where all the good stuff is.
That's right.
You got to go look and make measurements. You don't sit back and postulate well, I don't think there's any good stuff here or there or someplace else. You got to check. You make measurements. And it's the point I try to make to people about the thing that you need is evidence, not theory, but evidence, measurements of something. Whether it's physical trace cases or the composition of the craft, if you could find it, or the characteristics of the bodies. And certainly we have loads of observations of the flying capabilities, that is, the ability to go up, down, back, forward, right-angle turns, silently, at high speed, et cetera, et cetera. Those are very attractive and immediately give any government the reason for not talking about what they have learned. If you have potentially very important advanced technology, why would you share it with other people on the planet? It makes no sense to me. It's not as if we're all working together for a common aim. Quite the reverse. Our history of one is working against each other. Each group trying to control as much as they can of the new technology, the new capabilities. Not share and share alike. We're Earthlings we're talking about. We know what their characteristics are. We're not very nice.
Now, let me ask you this: without focusing on Roswell, but and Betty and Barney Hill, but we have to because of the significance of the cases. But E.T. wouldn't necessarily be coming from the same planet here. It could be a variety of planets and alien life that is visiting this planet, potentially that don't even know of each other as well out there, right?
Well, it depends. I presume that there is some kind of a galactic federation. They've been around long enough. Somebody had to say, this is silly. We're fighting each other. We got to get together. We have to recognize that there's more to be gained by working together than by fighting each other. Especially when you get to the point where you have enormous energy under your control, whether it's bombs, call it H-bombs if you will. But that forces you to say, hey, do we want to destroy everything or do we want to work for a common good? We Earthlings haven't yet settled on the right answer to that question.
No, far from it. Far from it. The hillbillies of the universe. So
I like that.
It's the more that I think about it, it's a frightening thought, but we may have to accept that for a while. But there's this other part of it that I find intriguing. When I was a kid, this was probably 1972 or so. I'm 10 years old, into all of these things. And I had read, I don't know if it was in Time magazine or a newspaper or whatever, but the Marjorie Fish star map. And I'm looking at a picture of the star map with her model that she had built, right, the 3D model. And I'm 10 years old. And I remember reading there, which was a big deal in 72, that we had just in the 68 to 72 had just viewed with satellites the other side of the sun. That the evidence that was presented in the star map we didn't know about when Betty Hill and when Betty and Barney had their abduction case. We didn't have that evidence. And I remember thinking, Stan, at the age of 10, how is that possible? This was a real event. I'm talking about Betty and Barney Hill. And as you reviewed the Marjorie Fish star map and Betty's original recollection and drawing of it, what did you back up and think to yourself what was actually going on?
Well, I was the first to publish about Marjorie's work. I was very fortunate. Cora Lorenzen of APRO, the Aerial Phenomena Research Organization, called me and said, Marjorie Fish is out there. She's been building models. She's been trying to figure out what Betty's map meant and all this kind of thing. And she's looking for a scientist to help her. Do you want to get involved? And I said, yes. And so on one of my many lecture trips at that time, I met with Marjorie in Ohio and looked at some of her models and kept in touch and talked to astronomers. Terry Dickinson, the editor of Astronomy Magazine, and I published an article in Saga, and then Terry published an article and got more response than anything he'd ever published about the star map work. It was exciting. It was different. It was a whole new ballgame in ufology because we hadn't really had anything like that to deal with. Clear-cut, unambiguous evidence of interactions between aliens and us, and a way to probably track it down. And that was the exciting thing about Marjorie Fish's work. A brilliant woman who did her research the hard way. She built more than 20 models of our local galactic neighborhood, having to copy out by hand the characteristics of the stars, their locations, their latitude and longitude, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't let her borrow the volumes with the numbers in them. She had to physically copy them out. So I was very pleased at the response that Marjorie's work got. And it pointed out to me that there's far more than theory, in other words. You can do some real work with data and not, I mean, when Frank Drake was talking, he came up with a hypothetical number. We call it the Drake equation, but you can put any numbers you want in because we didn't have data on what fraction of stars have planets, what fraction of planets have life, what fraction of those with life have been around long enough to have advanced life. We had no possible way of answering those questions. So it was theory. Marjorie's work was, okay, let's see what we can find out here. What does it look like around here? From an alien viewpoint, in other words. And that was a whole new ballgame in terms of the kind of research you could do. It's not like you had an alien telling you what you could do, but it's close in the sense that this is different from anything we've been able to do before that. And it is, I find it almost laughable that the SETI movement, SETI, silly effort to investigate, has persistently and always acted as though there was no data to indicate anybody's coming here, but we're going to listen for signals out from somebody out there. Do we have any evidence that anybody's sending us signals? Not a bit. That's a nice theory. And also it keeps us from getting involved in this crazy stuff, this flying saucer stuff. Even though there's overwhelming evidence that somebody's coming here and no evidence that anybody's sending messages from out there trying to attract our attention. Let's call Earth, maybe we can get them to work with us. What nonsense.
It's sort of. That's you and I have discussed this before. And my take on SETI, and I know a large chunk of this audience is on your side when it comes to SETI. But my take is it's better than not doing it. I don't like the alternative. I don't like the alternative of sitting on our hands. And this is the other thing, and you brought this up a few times. This is so important that our radio signals now have been lighting up the universe for 100 years. Now we're talking about over 100 years. 100 light years away now they have reached. That's a lot of stuff, right? Now, if we cut that in half, Stan, let's say 50 light years out, that would give them a chance now to send something back and triangulate and send something back to us from 50 light years away. I think there's a good chance we could be receiving stuff now. And we may not know about it, and they may not be telling us about it, but that's a vast distance, 50 light years.
Well, yes, it is. And as I said, within 100 light years, there's 10,000 stars, so there ought to be 1/8 that many within 50 light years. It goes as the cube of the distance, you understand.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm not saying nobody could be sending signals, but I'm saying if your question is there anybody out there the best data to look at to answer that question is all the data indicate they're coming here. The observations by radar, the multiple witness radar visual cases, the physical trace cases. There's data. There's evidence.
Now, have you ever seen anything in the sky?
Well, that's a loaded question. You mean anything strange that could be a flying saucer? No.
You have. You know what you need to do? The next time that you and I are hanging out, I'm going to take you out, and we're going to go and do a night vision night with some gear, and you're going to check out the skies.
I've done that, and I am really fascinated. I've been shocked with the night vision goggles. When you look up there with those, holy cow, look at all the stuff that's going on. It's incredible.
It's insane. It's mind-blowing.
Yes, I agree fully. And, if I could say, hey, you guys up there, over there in that corner, please stop and come down here and talk to us. We want to know what's going on. I wish I could do that. But the question of is there anybody there is clearly easier to answer by looking at the data that shows they're coming here than to theorizing about, well, maybe there might possibly be conceivably somebody hither, thither, or yon that might be doing this, that, or the other thing. Let's deal with what we can observe.
And that's, I've often wondered why, okay, you're out there, you've got your night vision on, Stan, you're looking up and you're watching something zigzag up in the, that doesn't make any sense. Now, if Wolf Blitzer was standing next to you with the same night vision and you and Wolf are looking at these things zigzagging in the sky, that obvious, right? Does Wolf go on CNN and talk about it? No. It doesn't make any sense. Why? It's
because he can't figure out, he can't prove what's at the other end there. Maybe that's artificial craft that somebody is playing games with. We don't know. It's not hard enough for him to deal with. That's why I say the data which shows they're coming here, the physical traces, those are here on this planet at this time, all over the planet. And have soil samples. We have effects on vegetation. Like I said, Ted Phillips' physical traces, he's got thousands of these cases. And nobody wants to pay any attention to them. The SETI guys certainly don't want to. I won't object to the notion of there being radio signals. You got to communicate somehow, and radio is a way that we know something about. But if you say your purpose is to find out whether there is other life, then you look at the data that indicates they're coming here. You don't stand back and say, well, maybe they're out there 50 light years away or 40 light years away. That makes no sense.
And now we've gone through a few phases. We've had, the flying saucer wave, which I think I have a hypothesis why that happened. I'll discuss that later. But then, the cigar-shaped craft and the things that went down in the 60s, and then the black triangles, and today the last 5-10 years have been these green and white look, maybe there's nothing physical there at all. I don't know. These plasma, that's what I've seen a lot of. I can't really explain it. How do you explain the different phases over the decades of what we are seeing?
The Galactic Federation Committee on Evaluation of the Earth Idiots has changed what they're doing. They've made sure that we're not sending nuclear weapons out there. You look at what happened at Malmstrom Air Force Base and other bases,
right,
where there's been a clear-cut indication that they don't want us monkeying around with nuclear weapons. Now, why would that be? Because nobody would want us, people who don't know how to control their own planet, to take their brand of friendship, which everybody else calls hostility, out there. It would be ridiculous for them to want us to go out there. there are probably rules in the galaxy. Renegades get no respect or something like that.
It would have to be that way. There's no question about that. When we don't have a concept of it, we just don't. We're a little bit too primitive. But what about this? And when we come back, we're going to go deep into this. What about not only the abductions that are reported by probably millions, there's millions of people are not crazy, but the other part of it, which is the communication that may be happening, the speed of the mind, which would probably be faster than the speed of light, with different civilizations out there. What do you think is going on with that phenomenon? Well,
I think there's no question to my mind anyway that there's a lot of, call it telepathy, call it paranormal, call it whatever you want, stuff that we don't yet accept or understand because we can't, pinpoint it exactly the way we'd like to. This is how they do that. Mm-hmm. We don't know how they do that.
Right.
So I think we have to allow for them to know a lot more than we do. And for us to start realizing that let's collect data from people who are involved with interaction with aliens. Not theoretical, but being abducted is obviously one part of that. Being monitored by sophisticated equipment, taken for rides. Don't you want to find out what's going on by asking the people who've been there? We tend to forget. Columbus, he started the ball rolling, but within 50 years, there were representatives of many different civilizations on the planet visiting the New World. Hey, a new place to explore, a new place to steal from, to enjoy, whatever you want. Mm-hmm. And let's take advantage of the ones who have made the observation and recognize that we're likely to get many different stories because there's many different kinds of activities. Look at us.
I know. What's fascinating with that? Sure, there's Columbus and Magellan and that aspect, but now today, we can mine. Look at all the stuff, the potential of the moon or Mars. Let's go and capitalize on that. That's where our mindset is. It's just funny. Just like we did with Magellan or anybody else that was going around. Let's go and rape and pillage, right? And bring back the gold to the motherland and fund the kingdom. Well, that's what we're looking at our own universe for. Let's go to Europa. Do you know what we can find on Europa? It's crazy. We want to go and find diamonds and gold, and we don't look at the other aspects of it. We think so primitively. It's funny.
Well, we got Elon Musk talking about mining, Mars. And we need more people, explorers, as opposed to theoretical theoreticians dreaming up notions about how aliens might do this, that, or the other thing. Let's go find out.
Yeah, let's do that instead of trying to monetize.
Good luck.
Yeah, let's take a break right there. Our guest tonight, Stanton T. Friedman. When we come back, we're going to discuss the abduction phenomenon. We've got to go there. This is Fade to Black. Tonight, we're going to do it all. We're going to do the who, the what, the when, the why, and the where in the UFO question. We'll be right back.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Hurricanes, earthquakes, wildfires. This year we've experienced more than our fair share. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and last month I decided to make sure my family does not have to worry about food should we get caught in a real emergency situation. Introducing Numana, a healthy, storable product that tastes so good that you'll want to eat it every day instead of just during those times of duress. All Numana products have a 25-year shelf life, are MSG and GMO-free, no preservatives, and are made in America. With the Numana pack in your home, you'll be able to sleep at night knowing that you've protected your family. Not only have I tasted and tested, I own it. Now you can too. Just click on the Numana banner on JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code Jimmy when you order. In addition to a discount, we'll send you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Seriously, go Beckley Tappy.
Do you worry a lot? Whether you're a college student, busy professional, parent, or grandparent, ongoing stress and elevated levels of the stress hormone cortisol can rob your memory, your health, and your future. Now you can combat the effects of stress and anxiety while improving your memory and recall at the same time with the dietary supplement Calm and Clever. Studies show that the ingredients in Calm and Clever reduce cortisol by as much as 30% in 1 to 2 weeks. Call 1-800-758-8746 or calmandclever.com.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Stanton T. Friedman. And this segment of the broadcast is proudly brought to you by River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Yeah, it's dark and smoky. Just use the promo code F2B blend and you will get 15% off of your order. Click on the banners over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. Now, Stanton, the abduction phenomenon. Before we go into that, let me ask you this. Do you think if Philip Klass was around today, do you think that he would have been turned around?
Judging by the way he was, probably not. Phil's basic attitude was, don't bother me with the facts. My mind's made up. And what the public doesn't know, I'm not going to tell them. So one can posit that he was working for some 4-letter agency. He was always denying that he worked for a 3-letter one, as strange as that might sound. But I doubt it. People, the nasty, noisy negativists, have their own agendas. And one of the major things is not what are the facts and what do they show, and let's draw our conclusions from the facts. So let's start with our own hypothesis, our own dogma about what's going on, and ignore everything else. And Phil was certainly one of those people. And, you know, I still don't understand. My latest book with Kathleen Martin was Fact, Fiction, and Flying Saucer. And we try to make sense out of why did otherwise smart people, and Phil was not stupid.
No.
But Ed Condon, Donald Menzel, etc., why would these bright guys say such stupid things on occasion? And I don't have a good answer for that. I mean, Condon said that there was no chance that we'd be visited for the next 10,000 years. He provided not a whit of data to support that strange notion.
Yeah, based on what? And
nothing.
Which takes me to, back to my point that I want to continue to drive home to the audience is the enormous amount of data that we have today. It's enormous with exoplanets and the galaxies and we start to break down the numbers. It's probably, millions of civilizations out there. Millions. Yes, millions. 10,000 years. Come on. And so to the contactees out there and the abduction phenomenon, I don't think that millions of people that have experienced this, and I don't know what the hard numbers are here, but certainly the numbers are extraordinarily large for this planet, that they're not all crazy. Some are imagining it. I could get that. Some are dreamy. I understand that part of it, but the vast majority of them are not nuts. What is going on with the abduction phenomenon?
Well, I could say it's a simple-minded catch-and-release program. All the local groups get extra points for how many aliens to them they pick up and examine and toss back. What can we learn from? How do we understand these crazy people? Earthlings are weird. They're unpredictable in how they will behave and what they want and how they act toward others. I don't know what the aliens are doing, why they're doing it, and some of it may be fun. Some may be graduate students doing their thesis research. What gives with the Earthlings in the world? We got to pick up a lot of samples before we get a sensible idea. These guys are crazy. I say that because if you look at how strangely we behave, so much money on destruction, very little on construction by comparison, etc. And I think we need to stand back and say, okay, if we take 100 observations of aliens on the ground, what are they doing? Well, part of it's catch and release. Part of it is taking up samples and examining them. Now, it may be that these are all mining parties from other civilizations who are coming here to check things out. Hey, maybe there's a place we can do business. Maybe we can find some goodies here.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Or maybe it's, like for organizations, you have to pass the test before you get admitted to the exalted levels. So you got to grab 8 specimens within a 3-month period. And if you don't do that, you don't qualify. I mean, who knows? We did grab a lot of Indians from the New World and take them back as slaves, didn't we? I don't know whether Earthlings are worth keeping as pets or slaves or anything like that. But I call it a catch and release program. Because for the most part, as far as we can tell, obviously we only hear from the people who are left here. If they're taken away, we don't hear a report from them. But I think if we did the appropriate thing and sound out the people who've collected all this data, we could come up with a much better position than we can now as to what's going on. There's no massive effort to collect the reports. It's don't believe anything is the attitude of, quote, science with a capital S, which is very strange indeed. Because we have to allow for there being many different things going on. We got 7 billion people on this planet. Who knows how many aliens there are out there? And trying to sort out the good guys from the bad guys, the people who don't want to injure the place and others who don't care about that. let's do our thing because we don't care about these dumb earthlings. There are all kinds of questions here, and we don't have answers. Now, whether the government does or not, governments of the planet, I don't know. And that's a very good question. What have we shared?
There's also, when we talk about trace evidence, there is one of the cases that is overlooked is the Delphos, Kansas case in 1971. And tell us about that case. And I know that the audience right now just sat a little bit forward and went, Jimmy, I haven't heard about that. It's one that's not discussed, and it should be.
Well, it's a typical physical trace case. Ronnie Johnson, age 16, was going about his business when he comes across a craft sitting on the ground or very near the ground. And he's paralyzed. He doesn't know what this thing is or where it's from, but it takes off. He dashes into his house, tells his mother he just saw a flying saucer, and she, didn't believe him. But you don't need to believe me. You can see where it was on the ground because it left a physical trace, a burn ring, if you will, which affected the soil down 10 inches. So it's not an easy thing to do, 10-foot across circle, if you will. And so they called the sheriff's department. The sheriff came out and saw the physical trace, this ring of soil, which was changed from the surrounding soil. And Ted heard about it. Ted Phillips in Missouri. This was in Kansas, Delphos, Kansas. Been there. Small farming community in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it wasn't in the big city or anything. And Ted took samples, and I had him send me samples, some of the sample material that he had taken from the ring and the surroundings. And I had a good lab do the testing. And the ring soil had a much higher level of soluble minerals than the surrounding soil. The kicker here was we were trying to figure out why wouldn't it grow anything. And that's why it was too salty, if you will. Possibly heated with microwaves to increase the concentration. Who knows? But it was a case where there was no question about whether these people were pulling a joke or anything like that. The sheriff was involved. These are country folks who respect authority and so forth and so on. We're not talking about fun and games people in the cities. And so it really got Ted hooked on Ted Phillips on collecting such cases. And he wound up collecting data from hundreds of these cases from 80 countries. I mean, people who think this never happens except once in a great while, well, that's not true. Lots of cases. Now you can imagine that people who are reluctant to talk about seeing a saucer in the sky are be even much more reluctant to say, well, it was on the ground and there were these little guys next to it. I mean, that's really asking for guts to speak up, and you're going to get laughed at.
Well, also
rejected.
Yeah, and in the Delphos case, there was a ring. There was a glowing. They have photographs of it. There was a glowing ring that was left and was glowing. He went in and grabbed his parents. They come out. He shows them the ring, and they take a picture. And it is the ground is glowing in the dark, right?
Well, yes, and they also called the sheriff, and the sheriff observed this. So we're not talking about just people sitting around a campfire making up stories,
right?
And as I say, Ted collected hundreds of these cases, similar in the sense of respectable people seeing very strange phenomena. How did the soil get like that? And one of the things is, why doesn't the soil grow anything? Well, you examine the soil and you find it's got too high a level of minerals for anything to grow. So we've got physical stuff to work with. Now, you'd think 10 different colleges would set up research programs, wouldn't you? But they didn't. But I visited Delphos.
Did you see the ring?
Yes.
Now, how much later after the original sighting in 1971 were you in Delphos?
Good question. Actually, the sighting was in the late 60s, not 71.
Oh, I thought it was.
I recall.
I thought it was in 71, but okay.
That doesn't matter. It happened. It was. I talked to the Johnson family, and the sheriff, and had the lab testing done. Certainly within 2 years, more like within a year, I think. I mean, I had to wait till I get the samples from Ted, and then I had to find somebody to do the testing and so forth. But I published about that way back in the early 70s, I believe, and I think it was Fate, of all places. That was one place you could be sure would be willing to publish respectable stuff.
Fate magazine, sure. But when you were there, I'm assuming it was years later, but the ring was still there. I've seen pictures of the ring 4 years after the original sighting, and there's still nothing growing there.
Well, that's right. I was there less than 2 years, I'd say. I haven't checked my numbers lately. We're talking a long time ago, and I'm getting old. I mean, I hate to admit that, but it's better than the alternatives.
Well, and now today, here we are in 2017, where it seems that not only with sightings and night vision and exoplanets and fast radio burst, there is talk in the media, if not daily, certainly weekly, about aliens and contact and life out there. Are we on the verge? Do you think that the dam is about to break?
Well, I get that feeling. I'll tell you, the last 2 monthly columns that I've done for the MUFON Journal, I've been doing a monthly column for 10 years or so. But the last 2 dealt about special issues, one of respectable publications, Scientific American and Popular Science. And they both had special editions dealing with search for life and evidence and stuff like that. And I was very impressed by they treated the subject decently, fairly, not 100% accurate, but you never expect anything to be 100% accurate, frankly. And is this a trend? I'm waiting for somebody else. In other words, when they take special issues and to deal with this question of other life and contact and stuff like that, something's going on. And there isn't a hint of ridicule in these things. And the Scientific American was more geared, in a sense, toward the SETI approach, but certainly they were allowing for, hey, what's going on here? Contact, evidence, data. They were treating the subject respectably. And I was delighted. I mean, that's a big step forward. And I don't know whether it's because of the exoplanets and all that stuff, but you certainly had the feeling, or I did, after reading these 2 issues, that something's happened here. Magazine editors, I don't know where to put the blame. Maybe the government put something in somebody's ear and said, hey, you better be covering this. I don't know. But certainly there's been a change in the tone. And yes, the nasty, noisy negativists are still out there. There's no question about that. But when you get the editors being decent enough to publish straight articles about this, that's a big step forward. And so I'm waiting for the next one. And who knows, it might happen next month. In other words, something's going on. There's been a change. There's no question about that in my mind. In attitude, effort, and willingness to publish on the part of respectable media people. That's a big step.
Yeah, it is a big step because I think today, I don't care who you are, you cannot say with a straight face that we are all there is. You know, that
pretty hard.
Yeah, that train has left the station. You know, that, I mean, seriously, you just can't say that anymore. The data is different today than it ever has been. But what do you, we talked about SETI, but there has been a lot of talk outside of SETI about these fast radio bursts that have been coming in, and the talk in academic circles in the scientific community and the astronomers and out there that are talking about the possibility of this being communication back at us. And it's looked at in a legit way today. What do you think these fast radio bursts are?
I don't know. I leave room for somebody to say, let's study them, let's collect them, let's evaluate them, and let's not rule out the possibility that they're coming from somebody else. And the kicker is here that you could have a deliberate signal sent from somebody else, but you could also have, call it background coming from them. Our radio, this program is going out in the air. We're not making a direct attempt to communicate with aliens. But aliens may be listening to it. So who knows? You take what data you can when you can get it.
Yeah,
hey, look at Earth. We got radio signals coming from them. Yeah. What does it mean? Well, they're advertising better cereals to eat.
They're going to get here, and this is what's going to happen. They're going to look at it's not going to be take me to your leader, Stanton. It'll be, where's this Friedman guy? We want to talk to this Friedman guy.
I'm volunteering to go along, guys.
That's my next question. Would you go? You know, it's
sure.
it's the end of Close Encounters, right? And it's you and Hynek, right? Arm in arm. Do you go? Do you get on the ship? Do you blow this popsicle stand?
Yeah, I would go on the ship. Evidence is what we need, and the only way to get it is to go where it is.
Now, what if you
bring
can't
some of it back?
What if you can't come back? Do you still go?
Well, that depends what they tell me. If they say, yeah, we'll bring you back, we'll give you a quick tour. We know you want to talk to other people, and we need more guys like you talking about the facts. If that was the approach, if they say, we'll take you, but we ain't bringing you back, buddy, well, I might have a problem, because what's the point of my going if I can't share the information I obtain with the people in the room?
I bet you go. But this is you go, Stanton, you would go. But this is my criteria. This is the only thing. I would have to know in advance about food. I don't want to go. I'm serious too. That would be a really severely depressing trip. Right, you're crossing the vastness of space and light years and light speed, and you're stuck with some rancid diet every single day.
Well, maybe there are extraterrestrial chefs out there.
Yeah, if I get my pizza fix, I'm good to go. You know what I mean?
Well, certainly there are questions like that. And it's one of the reasons that I think the aliens would behave sensibly about picking up specimens and taking them on board and, a quick tour and then taking them back. They know we can't handle living, we don't qualify to live with them,
That's exactly it. Can I need to bring some food with me. If this is what we're going to eat, then I need to bring some stuff. But other than that, just, diet aside, if we can fix the diet part, I'm gone. I'll take Rita with me, and the two of us would go and split. I really would do it. Now, I wanted to, I did want to ask you about some of the other climate that is going on out there. One is Tom DeLonge. I know that you've been watching this and observing it.
Yes.
Do you think he's taking the right approach?
I'm not ready to give judgment about that. I listened to him. I read his big book, and it is a big book. And I don't doubt that he's met with a variety of interesting people. Whether they have told him the truth, of course, is another question. Why should we believe them? There have been false prophets for a very long time.
Right.
People with stories. And, you know, I just don't know what to make of Tom's situation. And whether, I don't doubt he's talked to a lot of people, but whether they've told him the truth and whether he has accurately reported the truth, I don't know. Where's the evidence? Evidence is pretty short in Tom's book. He talks, but I want something I can put my hands on, you know.
Yeah, the building of a company to put together collective minds and introduce back into commercial corporate America ET technology is a pretty bold statement to go forward with. And again, a lot like SETI, my take on it is, why not? It's better than not doing it. I've never seen anybody tackle this situation, which is a sensitive question, and move forward. So I'm not saying I'm backing Tom DeLonge, but it's certainly better than doing nothing. And
I agree. Agree wholeheartedly. Action is what counts, not talk.
Do you think there is a lot of chatter out there about the possibility of him being misled, which is what you have just said? And we have seen this over and over again. Don't you think that this community, and certainly Tom, will be smart enough to back up and go, I know that the possibility is here that I'm being used? You know, I just don't think I don't think he would be played. You know, I don't
know. Remember, his claim to fame is being an outstanding popular musician who has talked to a lot of people whose statements he may not have evaluated very well at all.
Well, I would think
it's maybe.
I know. And this is where I just have difficulty. I'm sure I've talked to him about this myself. I have, that he was aware of all of this going in, right? The possibility of being played. I
presume so.
Yeah, it's so difficult. Well, I just want to see some of this stuff, start to surface for him, because, the credibility of not only for him, but everybody that is, I have great respect for some of the people that are Peter Levenda, I hold in the highest of regards. And I just want this to move forward. I do. I really want it to move forward. If this fizzles, then once again, the skeptics out there just go, see, just a bunch of crazy people, man. And I just don't want that to happen.
I agree with you. I don't either. And that's why I'm being wary and not immediately jumping on the bandwagon.
Can't do it. We've all jumped on that bandwagon before. Let's take a break right here. Our guest tonight is Stanton T. Friedman. We're doing it all tonight, I promised. The who, the what, the when, the why, and the where with the brightest. That is Stanton T. Friedman. We'll be right back.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio.
ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on the smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRAradio.com. Hello, Fadernauts. This is Jimmy Church, and I'm introducing New Pharma, a company whose products are based on science. Human function based on the endocannabinoid system, or ECS. New Pharma firmly believes in this science, and their research indicates that support of the ECS provides the beneficial effects for a healthy lifestyle. New Pharma's science includes relief capsules for pain relief, sleep capsules, which are natural support for occasional sleeplessness. Foundation is support for your ECS, and Fit capsules support your active lifestyle. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2B for a 33% discount on all of their products. Or visit newpharma.com for all of the knowledge on the science. That's GNUpharma.com. Go Beckley Tappy. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Special event tonight. Stanton T. Friedman is with us. Always a great conversation. I promised the questions tonight, so we're going to continue going right there. Here's another one I've never talked to you about over the years.
Okay.
The Annunaki. What's Stanton T. Friedman's take on the Annunaki?
I don't know what to make of them. They're in my gray basket. Get out of that the easy way, didn't I? I just don't know enough.
Okay, then the TV show Ancient Aliens, which has done a lot to bring this question to so many millions of people outside of our circle, for sure, that have never considered any of this. And when we look at ancient alien theory, and the possibility of a lot of technology being introduced early on in our civilization. When you look at that evidence, what do you think?
Well, I don't think most of our technology comes from the aliens. I think they have no interest in our learning how they do difficult things, technology, weaponry, propulsion, etc. I mean, you don't give 2-year-olds loaded guns to play with. So I'm not satisfied that we have learned all we could from the data, the technology we've come in contact with. There's no question if somebody's coming here and we're not going out there, obviously they have more technology than we do. But whether they're going to tell us what it is, or share it or want us to know it because they don't trust us, why would you trust Earthlings? Look at our track history. We're not very nice guys.
Okay, let's continue. If we go back, let's go back 5,000 years. Let's go back to 3000 BC. And the talk back then was the knowledge came from the heavens, right? The gods gave us this knowledge. Angels gave us this knowledge. Everything came from the stars. Were they talking about E.T.?
Well, I think by and large they probably were. Because, let's face it, there's nothing special about this particular moment. It's special for us. That is, we've got more knowledge today than we had 100 years ago, let's say. Mm-hmm. But there's no reason to think that we haven't been visited for a very long time. And we forget there may be many different kinds of visitors in the sense that there are those who want to steal the minerals, if you will, mm-hmm. who pick up biological specimens to get a new cure for some crazy extraterrestrial disease. Who knows? So there may be many different reasons for coming here. And we don't know. Who are they? Only the bad guys or the stupid ones coming here? I don't know.
Well, and the other part for me, and I know you look at the same evidence that I do, but when we have different primitive cultures documenting planets way before the invention of telescopes and lenses, I look at the same stars that you do. I look up and there's no way me looking up, I know the difference between a star and a planet and how long it takes and us moving around the sun. I can't do it. I know about the math because it's presented and I can read it. But if I'm going back 5,000 years ago, identifying what is a planet and what is a star in our solar system, that perplexes me. And that information had to be supplied to them from somewhere, right?
Yes, I think so. I think there are loads of, I'll say beings. I was going to say people, but I'd prefer beings. Zipping around the neighborhood. It's perfectly normal to reach out to new places, find new supplies of something, new knowledge, new experience being demonstrated by the local intelligent beings. And I think there are plenty of local intelligent beings. We haven't demonstrated a heck of a lot of that intelligence, but that's all right. So I think we have a constantly changing scenery, if you will, with a lot going on. The notion that, there's one isolated planet and there ain't nothing else in the neighborhood is ridiculous as far as I'm concerned. It's been around too long for us not to have attracted all kinds of attention. And if you look at I'll call it the mythology of old civilizations on Earth, they all have stories. I heard a paper and a guy was talking about 10 different advanced civilizations. They all had stories of beings coming from the sky with advanced technology. They didn't call it that, but whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. That's not limited to one guy in one place saying, I saw some high-performance vehicles. I'm saying everybody has such stories. And that isn't surprising if we figure the Earth is over 4 billion years old and our history goes back, a few thousand? Mm-hmm. It's hard to imagine that we have encompassed all there is within a few thousand years. I just don't believe that. It makes no sense to me.
About 2 weeks ago, I hope that you read this press release. About 2 weeks ago, the International Space Station, they discovered on the outside, on the hull, bacteria growing, right?
I saw just a little of that. I didn't see all the details.
Okay, well, you're aware of it. So they collected it and are I think it's now on terra firma, right? They're testing it. Now, two things come into play. One, the bacteria came from space and was surviving in space and collected on the outside of the space station. That's the first thing. The second thing is it is being tested here. You and I both have seen the original Andromeda strain. Do you think that was a good idea?
Well, I think they knew more than they have told us they knew about what they were doing. I think there were people who tried some pretty clever things to find out whether this was dangerous and so forth. I don't think we have the whole story on that.
I just don't. I've seen that movie. I just don't know if that was a good idea. But the panspermia theory. That is a good one. I think it's solid. But when we're talking about bacteria floating around in space, in the vacuum of space, traveling and accumulating here, then the possibility of that's how we were seeded, well, that's some pretty fantastic scientific proof.
Well, yeah, it is. And it's very exciting. And there ought to be more people working on it. But it raises problems. How do you do more research? Should you go up into space in some kind of a balloon to try to gather what's at the top of the atmosphere? That's a thought. I mean, you might want to do that. But we don't have a lot of money for doing this kind of research. It's much more important to figure out how to kill more people easier. Don't you think? Judging by how we spend our money?
Yeah, you brought up a really good point earlier that we spend more money on destruction than construction.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can borrow my hillbilly term. I'm going to borrow that from you.
All right.
Yeah, that was good. Well said. What do you think is our future here, looking into 2018? Not only with ufology, but are we going to go back? Are we going to go back to the moon? Do you think we're going to make it to Mars? And what do you think we're going to find when we get there?
Well, I detect a lot of push for moving out to find out more, whether it's the Elon Musk kind of thing, how can we capitalize on space or whatever. Mm-hmm. I think there is a growing attitude that we ought to be doing something like this, that we ought to exploit space, have bases on other planets, on the backside of the moon, etc. I think there's been a change in tone. And part of that is because of this knowledge that we didn't have before, that there are planets all over the darn place out there. If you had looked at this question 50 years ago, there was nobody saying that. 1.6 planets per star? What are you, crazy? That would have been the attitude. But so that's changed. And so I'm optimistic that will result in many more people, not just Elon Musk, thinking in terms of the larger neighborhood, so to speak, not just on our planet or our solar system, but our neighborhood. When you consider all the stars and planets within a nearby distance. So I think it's a good change. I think we're growing up. And as I say, when Scientific American and Newsweek, each within less than a month runs a special issue about contact with life in the universe, something's changed. You wouldn't have seen that 10 years ago.
No, it's exciting times. I wanted to ask you also about the alleged MJ-12 documents that surfaced a few months ago. Did you have a chance to look at those?
I haven't looked at the new ones, although I remember reading enough to be concerned about them. But I haven't had a chance to really delve into, I've written quite voluminously on the older MJ-12 documents and the fact that I think a few are genuine and very important and really reflect new knowledge, if you will. My book is Top Secret MAJIC, MAJIC, and I review a bunch of the documents, and some of them are phonies. I've shown that. Okay, there's no surprise there. Whenever there's new opportunities for knowledge, there's new opportunities for fakery. It gets attention, it gets interest, maybe money, who knows? So I'm still convinced that there was an MJ-12. Whether they still exist with another name, I don't know. I deem it quite possible. And whether the government's going to tell us what it knows, I go back to General Bolender. Reports which could affect UFOs, which could affect national security, are made in accordance with other documents and are not part of the Blue Book system. That's a mind breaker. A whole new world.
Is Jamie Chandray still alive?
I don't know. I tried to find him several years ago and had no luck. I talked to some people who knew him, but nobody knew where he was. So I don't know.
Yeah, I tried to as well. We're here in Burbank, and you would think that there would be a trace of him, but I couldn't find him. What about Bill Moore? Have you been in touch with him?
I haven't been in touch with him for years. I don't even know if he's still alive.
Last word that I had, and I'm not joking, you're going to think I'm making fun of this, but I think the last official word that I got was he was a janitor at a junior high school somewhere in Pennsylvania.
Well, I had heard he went back to Pennsylvania. That's where I first met Bill, was in Pennsylvania. Just outside Pittsburgh.
Right.
So that may be true. I don't know.
Do you think, I know you haven't talked to him in a while, but do you think that Bill, do you think that he harbors any guilt?
Good question. I don't know. I'm curious. I'd love to talk to him if he's listening. Hey, Bill, I'm in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. I'm in the book.
The number's still the same, Bill.
Actually, it is.
Because I look back and there was an old radio show. You probably never heard it, but it was called Open Mind here in Los Angeles. It was on KABC radio on Saturday nights. This predated Coast to Coast. This is in the 80s. And I went back and there was a couple of episodes with Bill from like 85. Wow. Right. And you go back and you listen to those and Bill talking about these documents that he's getting ready to whip out, and he just got this letter, and knowing what we know now, and you go back and you listen to those, your blood tends to get a little heated. I don't feel right about it. But at the same time, he did some really important things, and he wrote, he was there at a few key points. So, it's like he's a walking paradox.
I agree with that, and I wish, as I say, I'd like to meet with him. I'd like to talk to him. He did do a lot of useful stuff. He worked hard. He was persistent. I spent a lot of effort. I don't know what all went wrong there. They thought he and Jamie were going to make a ton of money from a new movie and book and all kinds of things. And none of that seemed to work out. So I was disappointed in that, but I tried to grab the ball and run with it. You do the best you can. And I try to bring to this whole business a scientific approach, facts, data, evidence, not just, this is the way I think things are. You need the evidence. And so, and I haven't, done it to make money. I mean, you expect to get back some of your costs of research with a book, but it's not a way to make money, at least not. Look, Eric von Daniken's new book is out, and 6,000 copies sold out in no time. And I've read it, very favorably impressed. I think he's done a lot to stimulate people's thinking about man's place in the universe. And he's done a lot of hard work and careful work. I know there are some people who are not happy with von Daniken, but I'm favorably impressed with him. He's done a lot to get people to think in new ways about our place in the local neighborhood. More power to him is what I can say, and I wish more people were doing the kind of work he's doing.
Couple of questions as we wind down here, and again, I want to thank you for spending time with us once again. And I know it's very late because you're 18 time zones away, but
only 4.
but I want to ask you a couple of quick questions.
Sure.
Favorite science fiction film?
Oh boy. I'm not really into science fiction. I was when I was 10 years old. I read a lot then, but then I got into science, and who needs fiction if you got science instead of it? So I can't even think. The Day the Earth Stood Still, maybe. But I won't proclaim any favorite because I haven't paid a lot of attention to science fiction films for a long time.
The reason why I bring it up is when we talk about science fiction, we can't help but discuss, Arthur C. Clarke. And just recently, I was hoping you were going to say 2001, but that's okay. But we just had our first interstellar object enter our solar system, take a turn, and is now heading out. Arthur C. Clarke wrote about this exact situation in the Rama series of books. But here, Arthur always, whether it was the monolith on the moon or life on Europa and the importance of Jupiter, he seemed to know something. And the Rama books certainly foretold what just happened here with this interstellar object. When you read about this, it's the first time, right? And this object came right in and turned right by our sun and is now moving out past Earth and is about to leave the solar system. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's proof that we're not all there is right here. We got to encompass a much larger neighborhood than we'd like to give credit for being out there. I've written about, there's a whole chapter in one of my books about fiction and science fiction and flying saucers and stuff like that, and which I have some strong negative words to say about Arthur Clarke, Ben Bova, Isaac Asimov, just because they have said some stupid things about UFOs. And I document that. They haven't done their homework, and so I don't trust anything they say. They make up notions, but they don't look at evidence. And they certainly are anti-UFO, so it's sort of like with SETI. Well, we have our notions of what's going on, and we're not going to let the facts get in the way of those notions. And I think it's a shame because Bova, Asimov, and Clarke could have done a lot of good to get people thinking, and studying the evidence and looking at what's going on instead of with the ha-ha. And they've all said things like there's no evidence. But they don't mention any of the evidence. There's plenty of evidence to which I refer, so anybody can refer to it. So I'm disappointed in the role of science fiction here, because I would expect it offhand to be a leader, but I think they're stuck with, we don't want anybody to think we're interested in something like flying saucers. That's crazy stuff. We want science, or our own version of science fiction, and that's kind of a shame.
Yeah, and with our own primitive mind, and we've talked about Condon a few times tonight, and the other views, from different world leaders about us being able to handle disclosure and, the anarchy in the streets and the collapse of the financial markets and religions and everything else that would go along with it, the pandemonium. Are we at that point where we could handle it?
Oh, I think we could handle it if it's properly handled. It's properly put out there. Look, let's face it. the knowledge that you could build atomic bombs was an incredible leap forward, in quotes. But we handled it. There weren't riots in the streets. It wasn't that for years we were always told about the War of the Worlds thing showed that people would riot if this stuff came out. I think that's nonsense. Look, I've given over 700 lectures. I come on very, very strong. I haven't started any riots. And it's all from the basis that the evidence is overwhelming. Earth is being visited by intelligently controlled extraterrestrial spacecraft. So I think the public can handle it.
There's a couple of movies that have come out lately. One of them, and if you haven't seen it, you should. I know you just said you don't watch science fiction movies, but the movie Valerian, Luc Besson's new movie, you should check that out.
Okay.
And but the reason why I find the movie interesting. Well, it's a great movie. It's a fun watch, right? It's great. It's in the future, and it's secret agents and dealing with aliens. Okay, all that is cool. But what they do suggest on a mass scale is that our International Space Station eventually gets built bigger and bigger, and then ET cruises up in like 2030, I think is the number that's there, and we make contact. We build onto it, and then we take the ISS, and it heads out in what they call the Magellan Belt or whatever, and it cruises out into the universe. But the audience watches this, and they think to themselves, "Well, that seems plausible." And it's so when I say, are we ready for it? The way that Luc Besson deals with it, it's an extraordinary view, and it just makes me wonder, Stanton, if somebody doesn't know something.
Who knows? I will. I'll take your advice the next chance I get. I'll see if I can see Valerian.
Yeah, the opening 3 minutes. Oh, by the way, it's with David Bowie's Space Oddity, right? Which is right, and just watch that opening 3-minute sequence, and you'll sit back and go, huh, and I feel like they're prepping us. I really do. Stanton, what's next for you, man? Are you speaking? What's your next engagement? Where are we going to see you?
Well, my next engagement, I've had sort of December off, but I'll be going. This is strange. The MUFON is having a cruise there'll be a small group of us, 5 speakers and about 35, 40 people going along to meet with the speakers for 5 days. We go from Tampa to Mexico to the Caribbean, and I'll be doing that in the first week of July. Oh, one big thing that's coming up. Michael Shermer and I will be debating in person in Vancouver by Pangburn philosophers who hold debates between big-time people like Richard Dawkins and others.
Right.
And we'll be debating the question, is there intelligent life visiting us? And Michael and I debated, 10 years ago on Coast to Coast Radio. I won 80% of the vote. He got 20% of the vote because he hadn't done his homework on UFOs. And he called me the other day about this debating thing, and he still hadn't done his homework, so it could be interesting. But it'll be in Vancouver. I mean, it's a long way to go
I've always wanted to have him on the show, but I just have fun. He's easy for you. That's all. You're gonna enjoy that experience. Shermer, to me. You're right. He doesn't do his homework, and his answer to everything is no. Well, that's not a debate. So you'll be able to run circles around him and enjoy it. I'm sure he's a good guy deep down, but wow. Maybe one day I'll have him on Fade to Black.
Okay.
I'll talk. Don't
forget my StantonFriedman.com.
Oh, absolutely. The links are up on our website. They're always there. And I look forward to seeing you again. And just be safe out there and enjoy the holidays. Thank you so much,
Gonna
Stanton.
try. Thanks.
Stanton Friedman, everybody. Now, he's, like I said, he is literally, and I'm not kidding, he's 4 time zones away, and they're getting ready to enjoy the cold up there in New Brunswick, Canada. Thank you so much, Stanton. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. All right, I'm going to take a quick break. When I come back, I'll open up the phone lines and discuss some other stuff. I'll be right back. Stay with us.
Here, and you are listening to my boy Jimmy Church on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
So you went to dinner last night, you had your favorite pasta. Ugh. Or maybe you had a heavy, spicy meal and it left you. Ugh. Get the T.com. Maybe you mowed down a huge steak and your plumbing is all plugged. Ugh. Get the T.com. Our super strength tea will take care of your occasional. Ugh. It's all organic and non-GMO. Get rid of. Ugh. We have so many great supplements, but our super tea is number one. Get the T.com. That's GetTheT.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roasted to the dark side of fade to black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hey, can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. The holidays are coming. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. Stanton T. Friedman. Oh, man. Woo! Great conversation. I'll get to that in just a second. The segment of Fade to Black is brought to you by New Pharma, GNU Pharma. Click on their banner over at jimmychurchradio.com. Go to their site and read all about the science behind New Pharma, natural solutions to health and wellness. Their foundation is something that I take every single day. I take the drops, the foundation drops. It'll straighten you right out. The promo code is F2B. It'll get you 33% off of your order. Also, New Manna, emergency food storage for you and your family, 25 years shelf life, MSG and GMO free, made right here in America. Emergency food storage. Now, every order over $100 gets you an autographed Fade to Black t-shirt. Just use the promo code Jimmy. Click on the New Manna banner over at jimmychurchradio.com. All right, I've opened up the phone lines, 323-825-5045. Or 323-275-9695. Okay, phone lines are open. What did you think about that conversation with Stanton? And I've got a bunch of thoughts here. I do want to go back. I'm watching Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. Looking at these comments about Valerian. And Lawrence just posted the opening sequence of Valerian is badass. Yes, I just used bad language. They hit it on the money with David Bowie's Space Oddity. The opening sequence, I want to mention this. So I went, and we've seen Valerian so many times now, probably 5 times in the last couple of weeks. We had to, it's just an extraordinary film. But I just thought to myself, that sounds too good. I think they enhanced, they went back and remixed Space Oddity. It just sounded so good. And so I went back and listened, and they didn't. It's the original recording. And you go back and you listen to the original version with David Bowie, and it is that great. The way that they did the opening sequence, if you haven't seen Valerian, you've got to, and the City of 1,000 Planets, if you haven't seen it, you've got to watch the film. It is so well done. There are so many aspects of the movie that make it great. First off, Luc Besson doesn't make a bad film, okay? And to compare it to The Fifth Element, well, there's a lot of things that are similar because it's Luc. But the way that they have done all of the different ETs out there, very, very well done. But back to this opening sequence. So they've got the ISS, and it's being added onto. And the different countries here on Earth that are going up and visiting the space station and how they're collected, and it's all done to David Bowie. They're coming through the hatch and they're shaking hands, and you get to see each generation, right? As it as the ISS grows. It's very, very cool, and how they're dealing with gravity and how that's done. Well, then E.T. comes and visits, and it's that first time through the door. Now, so this happens over and over again. Different species are coming to the space station, and they're building onto it, and it's getting really, really big. But it's each version of E.T. that comes through the door and they shake hands. It's so well done. Now, so that's it. That first 3 minutes of the film, 5 minutes, however long Space Oddity is great. Then there's a few other things that the film deals with, and one of them is another dimension. So they go out to this place, forget the name of the planet, which doesn't matter. They go, and it's called I think it's called the Mega Market, right? Isn't that what it's called? The Mega Market. And it's in another dimension. So I'm not giving away anything to do with the film. What I want you to do is observe this part of the film when it happens. That it's a tourist destination, and so you go and you're able to go and shop, right? It's a mall, but it's in another dimension, and you put on this helmet with this visor, and once you do that, you can see the other dimension that is there, that is all around you. What is great, and this is what I want you to check out, is there is a guard tower, and the guard is up there, and as he looks out over this enclosed space, which it's huge, it's just a vast desert, and there's 100, 200 people walking out there alone in pairs because those are the tourists, right? The dimension, once you see it with the glasses on, this vast space is actually, it's huge, and it's a large open market like a bazaar. Watch how Luc Besson deals with this extra dimension. It's very, 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 very cool. Now, everything else, you just got to go watch the film. This is all in the beginning, and it's the setup of everything. Man, Valerian, well done. Well done. Okay, so back to a couple of points here. By the way, did I not open up the phone lines? Okay, now they're open. 323-825-5045. Let me open up the second phone line. Okay. Yeah, both phone lines are now open. 323-825-5045 or 323-275-9695. Now, a couple of points I want to address that I'd like to talk to you about with Stanton. How the Drake equation, Kepler, and Hubble have changed. Now, I talked about the ETH in my opening segment of the show, which Stanton didn't listen to, I'm sure. But he is of the same mindset in that the original Drake equation and the numbers that were presented, I think he said it was 18,000 possibilities out there, right? 18,000. The numbers are not that. The numbers are extraordinarily huge. Here in our Milky Way, now we are looking at a number of around, he said 100 billion. The number has also been thrown around, 500 billion stars in our galaxy. And Hubble and Kepler now have photographed, and now they've imaged what we thought were stars in the past are actually galaxies. Each one of those stars is actually, 500 billion stars. And there are 1 trillion galaxies in the universe. Now, you start to do this math, and it's a crazy amount of possibilities out there. I don't know what it is. I haven't done the math. But 1 trillion times 500 billion, I don't know. My brain's not that big. So if we take a small percentage of that, a tenth of a percent of that, of planets, that the possibility of life, we are talking about billions, not 18,000. Let's go to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hi, this is Megan.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
What'd you think about great show tonight, huh?
Yeah, I'm so happy that I got to actually listen to it live. I missed last week's great show, so I'm really happy I was able to join up here. But yeah, Stanton makes an amazing point about, why would they want to interact with us? But the same thing is like, why would the people of the Earth want to interact with our government? I mean, the only thing that we from them is hostility. Every time we've even mentioned anything of interest that might be of interest to the government, of any kind of, let's say, you hear about, you hear the woo-woo kind of information that comes in, but there's other information that comes in that seems pretty legitimate, and the government does nothing but slam it down. I mean, they are limiting themselves. Imagine all the people who've been contacted, whether it's telepathically or physically. whatever, and who have information in front of them that could well progress us into an age of where we can actually be on the same level of the people that you're talking about in the movie Valerian. We could very much hold the keys to progressing if they were not so hostile toward us, right? So they're self-limiting. The government's self-limiting. I don't know how quickly we'll progress until they start opening up and being more, giving people more of a soft place to land with information that could very well help them. So it's, my point being is that Stanton is right. We've done nothing but show hostility, but our government's done most of that work.
And see, I've got a couple of questions for you. The first thing is this, and I think Stanton was right in this aspect, in that we need to now start our own dialogue here on Earth on how to present ourselves. Right? That discussion is not going on. We need to really.
They tried to do that, but I think, again, I'm not against ethereal speak. I'm not against people talking in terms of woo-woo, but I think that what really gets us and bogs down the discussion is when we start getting into feelings. I believe me, I believe in feelings, but I also, we have to start talking to all parties, and that means the people who are very logically minded and the people who tend to work more toward what are they feeling that day. And I think until we marry those two together and start talking, Stanton has a good methodology. He's like, I talk in science and da-da-da, but, he also believes people. He doesn't turn off when you talk to them about, well, I have this voice in my head, and it wasn't mine, and I know I'm not crazy because, so on and so forth. There has to be a dialogue that is presented in a way that isn't woo-woo, because we have been, there are so many people out there who are trying to do that, who come in and they want to make a buck. Right, that was mentioned earlier too. Like They want to make money off of the gullible minds who want to believe in this kind of thing. So I think that there needs to be a marriage of logic, science, and open-mindedness, and we need to find that trifecta in order for us to build dialogue and a message that would look better to a bigger audience.
Yeah,
even outside our galaxy.
Yeah, and I've often wondered, it's one thing if E.T. lands in Toronto or New York or sees Los Angeles or Miami, right, or Tokyo. That's one thing. But if E.T. goes to Syria and sees a bunch of Toyota pickup trucks with guns mounted in the back and people shooting at each other in the middle of the open desert, that I would be embarrassed, right?
Yeah, I agree, but it doesn't matter where the guns are. We've got guns in the air; they've got guns on the ground. It to me, I think that from what I've seen and what I've been reading about is that they're testing the waters now much heavier than they have in the past to see where the gun, because remember back in remember the attack on LA, or we attacked that, the big UFO,
right? That
one image, right? And there was nothing but gunfire and craziness, and how many times has there been since then reports of UFOs getting that close, that large, and no gunfire? There's been a few. There was one up here in San Francisco. There was a couple. There have been multiple situations where UFOs have shown up. There is no gunfire. There needs to be a consistency in that, right? So I think that though you're right with the Syrian, the guns and all that, I think it doesn't matter if they're in the air or if they're on the ground. We just need to let it go that they're much more advanced, and we just need to start, showing that we can play in their ball field.
Yeah, and see and I think one of the points that also needs to be stressed here is that we aren't talking about one specific race of ET. It can't be that kind of party, kind of like Valerian, to go back.
Right.
Now, are they in contact with each other? And Stanton made a really good point. He said, dude, there's a federation out there. We have to remember they are coming here. We are not going there, right? So they have the technology to get here, obviously. We don't have the technology to go there yet. So if we look at it in those terms, they are probably in contact with each other, and they do know what is going on here on Earth. But David just posted in Twitter, it's a good thing they didn't arrive last month in Las Vegas, right? Could you imagine?
Right.
and that's what and that's our representation. That's our representative of what is going on here on Earth, because there's so many beautiful things on this planet. There
is. I mean, amazing, beautiful things, and people's minds are amazing and beautiful. And I think that in my heart of hearts, I think they know that, and I think that they're trying to get to those kinds of people and those certain people. And as I've said, I think that certain people have some key elements of what will help the world progress, just that there isn't an ear for them to speak to. And until we get that forum, that platform, we're not going to progress. I just don't see it happening.
Well, you seem very, very bright. So let me ask you this. Have you made contact? Have you seen something?
Well, I have a lot of evidence to that fact. Yeah, I do. I have a lot of evidence, and it's, and it's all on video, so it's not anything that isn't available, but it's just really interesting that I don't think I'm the only, I think it's happening to everybody. I don't think it's just me. I don't think I'm special.
What tell me about it.
Okay, so very, very strange. So I did call in a while ago, and I didn't mention that, it's everywhere. It's, you can just point your video. And, I've been sick for a couple of years now, like really, 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 really sick, like to the point of am I going to make it kind of thing? And the only thing I can do now and then was to videotape, right? Video. And so I got in this habit of feeling like, oh, look at this, look at this view, look at that view out my window and, outside in general. And I started just, reviewing the video frame by frame, and I started noticing things that are popping up. And at first I thought it was birds. So I got really, really, really good at discerning, between, is it a bird? Is it a plane? Is it, a leaf? Because leaves are really easy to,
Right.
To, it's really easy to look at something and say, that's a UFO. But then I started seeing things in my videos, on a daily basis, that were not in no way, shape, or form any other thing. So, and I saw I saw swarms of UFOs. I've seen this, and it's just random. And I can't believe that for the moments that I chose to video and to actually capture, that, they thought, oh, Megan's going to, videotape something. Let's hurry up and show her,
Right.
It has to be happening that frequently for me to be able to capture it that frequently. So it has to be happening to everybody else, in my point of view. It can't just be happening to me randomly. I just happen to be paying attention. So from a contact point of view, there's certain things that have happened to me that, if I were to tell you about it on the phone, would sound woo-woo, but, I've been tested to be able to see more colors than normal, and I also have the ability to see subtleties in certain things, so I have been tested in that effect. So I see certain subtleties in the sky and different colors, and and certain colors produce certain things, and I've seen stars coming in and out, of visual, like in certain, during the daytime. So I don't know if they're stars. Probably not, right? So,
right.
But I don't know. Unless somebody comes down from there and say, "Hey, I'm a UFO," I don't know. To me, it's a UFO because I can't identify it. But I actually captured that actual event on a video, so it's not like I haven't. Everything I tell you is something that I've been able to capture on video, but I don't have it posted anywhere. So.
Wow. Wow, so cool.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's so many, and I bet you anything that other people have had the same experiences, but they haven't had soft places to land. I mean, YouTube's cracking down on so many things. We're not going to have a place to put our content, after a period of time, because they're going to say, well, we don't believe you, so we're not going to post your content, It becomes weird, right? So what do you do?
Do you have night vision?
I do have a night vision goggle, and I have seen some, and you can actually put a flash card in, and you can videotape, and mine doesn't work. My flash card doesn't work, so I need to get new ones so that I can videotape what I see.
Oh man, night vision's the best.
I know, and you have one, and they don't put how much it costs on the website, so I don't know how much it costs.
Okay, well, we'll deal with that with email later. That's not even the point. Do you have your videos posted anywhere?
No, I don't. But
Twitter's lighting up right now. Post. Yeah, where is she taping? What's going on?
I have one where it's actually going into. It actually almost like it shows off, but it's this glowing ball that it's going across the very close, and it's making that sound when it goes into what's that sound when one of our planes go into Mach?
Yeah. Speed of sound, the sound barrier.
Yeah. When it hits a sound barrier, it's that sound it's making that sound. I have one of that. I have one where it's coming in and out of a frame almost with like this. It's just really strange. I mean, obviously, when somebody's sick and they have nothing else that they can do except do that, I had a lot of patience to go through every single frame. I started marking down which frames I found them in and double checked and. Yeah, it's so, and then I have this really cool one where I was looking out my window, and a bunch of, and I know people kind of question globes, but just clearly these white blobs of light, like golden circles, came in. About 5 of them just kind of like gathered from all corners of the sky, and this all came around, and they just did the swirl right in front of me, and then they all took off again. It was just wild.
I've got to see that.
I kind of felt special.
I've got to see these videos. You've got to email them to me.
That one I'll find and I'll send it to you. The other ones I have to.
I know.
Download onto that. I have a ton of them, so I can do the golden blob one, and I can do the one that swirls that I just told you about.
Absolutely. I do want to see these. And now, unfortunately, we're at the end of the show, so I've got to run credits.
Oh, wow.
So I took you to the very end, and we'll see you tomorrow night.
Yay. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Great phone call right there. I want to see these videos. These I have to see. Absolutely incredible. Great show tonight. Got to thank Stanton T. Friedman once again. Great show. Great conversation. Fade to Black's executive producers, Rita Kamarian. Show is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark T. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. And syndication is KGRA, The Planet. Tomorrow night, right here, Patricia Corey. Oh, yeah. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2017 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. I want everybody to be safe. Go back, Lee Tappy.